Good afternoon. Hi, everyone. Okay, so I learned a lesson today. I got in at 6:15. I had lunch with Patty Kerr. She said, "What are you doing today?" I said, "Well, I was supposed to do a panel. It got canceled." She said, "Really? Okay, good." So now I'm doing a 3 o'clock panel for SeeHer and introducing this panel. So much for relaxing today in Cannes. But I'm actually really excited to be here because this is relaxing, Shelley says. Because I'm sorry, Nadine and Laura, that I have my back to you. I'm on the advisory board of SeeHer and have been for about 1.5 years, I think, to 2 years. And I believe wholeheartedly in the mission of SeeHer, which is gender equality and the importance of portraying girls and women in a positive light in media. Because, as Gina Davis says, if you can't see it, you can't be it. And certainly I've lived my entire career with that in mind, whether it was demanding a 50-50 division of labor at the Today Show when I first got offered the job with Bryant Gumbel, to being the first solo female anchor of an evening newscast. And I think imagery and how it's projected into the world is so critically important. So I couldn't be more thrilled to be here and to be preaching the gospel of SeeHer. So this panel is about SeeHer in sports because the effort is, I love those glasses. Thank you. The effort is being extended into all arenas, as you'll hear in this panel, and I'm thrilled to introduce Christine Manna, who she said manna from heaven, manna really. Christine Manna, who is the COO of the Association of National Advertisers, which is the umbrella organization for this initiative, SeeHer, and she'll be conducting the panel. So please welcome Christine.
Hi, everyone. I just want to start out with giving you a little bit of a history of SeeHer. So SeeHer started in 2016 as an idea of how to harness the power of media to enact change. And that idea actually turned into the SeeHer mission, was to improve the accurate and realistic portrayal of women and girls in media. And that was because research was done where parents don't feel that there's role models for their girls. Women don't identify with themselves in advertising, and more than half of adults feel that females are not portrayed realistically or positively. So it was just a natural extension to go into sports, because sports is a powerful platform for empowering women and females and girls, and it's also shapes stereotypes and norms. So we kicked off our first SeeHer in Sports event on May 16th, and actually Jody and Stephanie were the key leaders in that. I think a week later, Mastercard had a special announcement. We have networks that are joining the cause. This month, USA Today will have a full-page ad on gender equality. And this week, we just announced that Coach Muffet McGraw from Notre Dame is joining our advisory panel. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shelley to listen to the esteemed panel.
Fantastic. Thank you. First of all, thank you, Katie.
Sorry, I didn't know you were doing the panel, Christine. You're just introducing.
We're all in this together. Everyone, whoever picks up the mic is going to use the megaphone because it's just really important to start sharing these stories. Patty, are we going to do an anthem?
Yes.
Now? Yeah. Okay. So let's play the anthem. Can we play the video?
SeeHer started as a moment and has become so much more. As media makers and brand leaders who help shape our culture, we see the powerful opportunity, the responsibility to make a change for good.
Stronger than the wind, we're coming home so we can finally begin. I know.
But to be the change, everyone needs to see the change. Because when we can see her, we see strength. We see inspiration. We see ourselves. When we change the conversation, we can change the world.
It's not only our job to entertain, but our duty to inspire and educate for love and respect.
You can't spell heroes without her. SeeHer.
So we're really proud of this. Thank you. Because, we always say a moment turns into a movement, and that's truly what is happening right now. We have over, I think, 90 multinationals that are participating in SeeHer. We have created standardized industry metrics to measure what matters. We always say you need to measure what you treasure. And now we are moving into SeeHer Sports. So if everyone here could just introduce yourself, tell me who you are, what you do, and why do we need to bring more visibility to women in sports, and why is SeeHer Sports so important?
I'm Steph McMahon, Chief Brand Officer of WWE, and I hear a lot about women in sports, and I'll get into what WWE has done later, but there was a feeling for a long time that women could never be the main event, that they could never be the draw, that ticket sales are down, that promotion isn't there, ratings are down. And I couldn't be more passionate about SeeHer in sports, because what it is about bringing together media, marketers, and leagues to change the game. How can you watch the WNBA finals if you don't know when they're on? When you're watching various networks and their top 10 highlights, how many plays do you see that are women's plays? Because let me tell you, they're bringing it. I'm watching the FIFA World Cup. These women are awesome. That's just one sport, right? They can be featured. They need to be
awesome.
That's right. And then 3-0 yesterday. Yes, 3-0. Over Chile for the USA fans. I'm sure.
Do you think, as a matter of fact, they're holding back now as a result of some of the?
I wondered yesterday. A little bit, but
okay,
it's hard to tell. But only 4%, and this stat varies, but 4% on the high end of sports promotion goes to women's sports. Enough said.
Wow. What a build-up. I feel this.
I'm so passionate about it.
I am really passionate, too, and I have some personal stories about that. So I'll introduce myself first. So my name is Nadine Karp McHugh, and I'm the SVP of Omni Media at L'Oreal USA. I'm very passionate about this subject. It comes from a very personal place. About 18 years ago, I guess I'm dating myself, but whatever, I had a daughter. And I really wanted to raise a very strong daughter who was going to be a future leader and be able to be whatever she wanted to be in life. And I read this book by Dr. Sylvia Rim called See Jane Win. And one of the things that she spoke about, she did a lot of research about women and what they felt, women that felt that they were successful in life. And she looked for patterns. And one of the patterns was being involved in sports. Organized sports, because they learn certain lessons in sports that are very essential to being leaders. They learn to shake things off. They learn to compete. They learn that being assertive is very important. So all of those things. Fast forward, and my daughter was very involved in sports. She played point guard rather, in basketball. She was the pitcher in softball. And when she was little, she wanted to be a basketball star. And I let her go with it. And one day she came home, I think she was in 4th or 5th grade, to your point, and she said, Mom, I don't think I want to do that anymore. And I said, well, why not? She said, because nobody cares about girls' sports. And I said, well, why do you, now I knew why, to your point, Stephanie. And I said to her, well, why do you say that? She goes, well, think about it, Mom. It's not on television. And I said, well, it is on television. And I was naming all of the secondary cable networks that they were airing on. And she said, but those aren't the networks anybody cares about. And it was heartbreaking. So it is, I think the time has come. I think that SeeHer and everything that you just said and the marketers that stand here on this panel have a responsibility to take that forward and to allow women to have the same place that men do.
I think it's amazing. And you just bring up, there was a big study that was just recently conducted among executive women. Did you know that 90% of executive women have played sports, have played on a sports team, and 96% of the C-suite? So talk about sports also being amazing for collaboration and team building and all of those amazing talents. That is why it is so important for your daughter, who's now 18?
Yeah, 18. Majoring in biochemical engineering. So there you go.
Okay, Laura.
Hi, I'm Laura Molen. I'm president advertising and partnerships at NBC Universal. I am very passionate about all things SeeHer. And in the sports arena, what I would say is when I was a young girl, I would see these incredible women like Nadia Comaneci or Mary Lou Retton. And I never really thought about women not being in sports because these were my heroes. So being able to be a part of the Olympics and tell the stories of the women athletes is just really inspiring, and we need to do more of it.
You guys did an amazing job in the Olympics featuring women, and I just have to say thank you for that, because it really brought visibility and sharing these stories in a way. When we talk about 4%, of highlight reels, you made 90% of highlight reels.
Women made up more than half of the U.S. gold medals in the last Olympics, and we project that they are going to kill it again in this Olympics.
Wait, women did what in the last Olympics?
Made up more than half.
More than half? That's a
right.
stat worth repeating, I think, for sure.
It's pretty amazing. And let's hear it for 2020.
Hi, good afternoon. Feels very special to be the only one on this, in a SeeHer panel. I guess this
him for seeing her.
See him, I know. For a couple of things. Firstly, my name is Rajamannar, and I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer for Mastercard, and I'm also the President of its healthcare business. From not just the point of doing something right for women, I think it's also clear business sense. It makes a lot of sense, right? If you look at, for example, in my category of payments, more than 80% of all the decisions are made by women. And if you look at the other hat that I wear, healthcare, more than 84% of all elderly people and their children, of course, are all taken care of by women. So they do play such a dominant role. Who better to understand women than other women? And 6 years back when I joined Mastercard, one of the first things that I tried to do was to look at my team and see how we are represented on the team. I'll not say what the initial statistic was. It was not very flattering. But today when I look at my team composition, I feel extremely proud that nearly 3/4 of all my entire team is women. And not just at the lower levels of the organization, but at my direct reports level as well. So I feel very good about it. And as far as sports is concerned, we started our journey about 3 or 4 years back. And on the one hand, we felt that we have a responsibility, not just, it's not just something which is politically correct, but I think it's morally, girls require and women require as much of support and visibility as men and boys do. And I think currently the disadvantage that they have is absolutely horrific. So we started getting into sponsorships of women events. In sports particularly, we started with golf with the sponsorship of Annika Sorenstrom, and then expanded to the most recent announcement where we have literally 6 captains of women's teams. Some of them have not yet been announced. They're going to come down the pike. I hope Visa and Amex are not in this audience. But the key thing is we are really now unleashing our financial muscle behind women's sports and women events in general in a big way. So more about that later.
We're going to get to that sooner than later, because right after the SeeHer sports event that we had, you made a very big commitment, and we're going to talk about that. And your passion came through in big ways, and you are walking the talk. So thank you for that. Jody.
Hi, Shelley. Hi, everybody. I'm Jodi Harris with Anheuser-Busch. I'm the head of marketing culture. I'm also the head of our Women in Beer movement internally. And it sounds a little crazy because, beer and the female world traditionally has not been so favorable. And so
in here, we love beer.
Me too.
Who loves beer? We're good beer drinkers.
So I think the common theme here that we're hearing is responsibility, and for us, we have that responsibility from a marketing perspective. In particular, we're the biggest advertiser in sports, and so we need to start putting the money where our new mouth is going to go. And it's not just about, championing, I think, the bigger sports, as we say, but it's also the emerging spaces as well, making sure we're championing women as athletes as well as fans. And it's also very personal for me. I played college sports. I played lacrosse in college. We talked about this at the summit, and we were a sports team. And we were a sports team because my school wouldn't fund uniforms for us, wouldn't fund the necessary steps in order for us to become a division team. And instead, the money went to the football team, went to the basketball team, went to the baseball team. And so for the past, 25 years or so, I've been fighting Title IX and carried that on through coaching 5th and 6th grade girls and raising visibility of not just lacrosse as a sport, but also these young women and championing them too.
That's amazing. Thank you for all your work. Carla.
Wow, it's a hard one to go at the very end of, because I think a lot of what's been said I was going to say, but I will say, I've been involved. My name is Carla Hassan. I'm the Chief Brand Officer at Citi. I've had the good fortune of being involved in sports all my life, actually, just from playing sports. Before I even got to Citi, I was at PepsiCo for 13 years, and I ran the Gatorade business, marketing on the Gatorade business. So you talk about badass women that we highlighted and sort of. And really sort of elevated women like Serena and Mia, who really don't need but one word names. But and I just think that it's time. The word I would use is responsibility as well. I just think that we absolutely have a responsibility. Everyone that's sitting on this panel, we change culture, and if we don't do that, then who else is going to? If we don't put our money where we can actually show the badassness of these women who are kicking ass, taking names, working harder, actually, not getting paid the right way. If we actually can't show the amazing work they're doing, then who will?
Well, and also, what about responsibility for our children? What do we think our daughters and our sons, are going to think if we don't start, flipping the script now? Maybe we didn't do it then, so, shame on us, but let's not go back. What about today moving forward?
No, I agree, and sometimes it breaks my heart that I actually see little boys that support the women's soccer team more than little girls do. It's really interesting to me. They're like so much, sometimes more proud of them than even the little girls are. And I'm like, wow, there's something wrong. Like we're doing something wrong that we just can't, we can't seem to get out of our own way and do the right thing. So
let's go, and in no order, jump in as you wish. What are all your brands doing, to really make a big difference? And I do want to start with you, Stephanie, because you really went through a major transformation and a conscious, I'm using that word. Things don't happen by themselves. We can wait, watch, hope, but you have to make a conscious decision for change to happen, and you made a very conscious decision at WWE for how you were going to bring women front and center, because they deserved it, and not just because it was a nice to have. What did you do?
So back in 2015, our women were treated more as secondary, if not tertiary, type characters in WWE. They were seen as the arm candy, the managers. They were nice to have, but not a need to have. And what happened in 2015 is our audience started a hashtag called Give Divas a Chance, which is how we then branded our women's division. And it trended worldwide for 3 days. Now, what had really started happening is in our developmental center, we had started training and recruiting the same. So our women were being trained the same as the men, given the same opportunities, the same amount of reps, and it led to this movement. And our fans were specifically calling for more athleticism, longer matches, better storylines, because we're both sports and entertainment. So then on our biggest platform, which is called WrestleMania, which is akin to our Super Bowl, we rebranded the entire division. From the Divas division to the women's division, we announced that our women would now be called superstars, same as the men. And perhaps the biggest part of this story is in Abu Dhabi about a year and a half ago. It took us 6 years to be able to have our women perform. But when they did, a chant broke out in the arena of both men and women chanting, "This is hope." Wow. This is hope. And that's not a traditional WWE chant. And our female performers in the ring saw tears in the eyes of little girls in the front row, little girls all the way in Abu Dhabi, when you talk about the power of a movement and the power of people's voices. We then had our first ever all-women's pay-per-view event, which was exclusively available on our streaming service, which is not that big. It's 2 million. It's big for us. But how did it do? It trended #1 worldwide for over 2.5 hours during the last game of the World Series and NFL Sunday Night Football. And then this year at WrestleMania, which again is our Super Bowl, it took us 35 years, but for the first time, thank you, Shelley. For the first time ever, our women were the main event. And the results speak for themselves.
Yeah. This is hope. This is hope. This is hope.
Shelley always tries to get that chant going. It has not worked yet. No, it didn't work.
I was curious.
It didn't work. It had to be in the moment.
If you do it.
No, it won't. But I appreciate it.
If Stephanie does it, would it work?
But Shelley, you didn't ask me about something in particular.
I'm waiting for it. I wanted to first get the chant going.
No,
now I'm going to ask. Maybe after that we'll get the chant going. What happened with the belts?
So it's funny that you asked. Because we actually changed our championship belt that was a butterfly to something that was more akin to the men's championship belt, but still very feminine. And I set that up for a reason because Shelley, I happen to have your very own customized WWE Women's Championship belt. Your name and Chief Troublemaker.
Oh my God!
Put it on. This is hope. Put it on.
I'm so excited for us.
Okay.
This is hope. This is hope. This is hope. This is hope.
Wow. That is awesome.
All right.
Oh my God! I'm going to wear this with pride.
Shelley loves that story about the championship belt, so.
Can you sit down?
Yeah, I know, it's a little challenging.
I need a workout.
It's a workout just for the.
You will have to take that out of your carry-on at checkout in the airport. I apologize.
I'm not taking it all. I'm going to beep my way through the airport. I'm going to treasure this. Thank you. Nadine, what is L'Oreal doing in sports?
I don't even know how to top
I don't think you can.
I'll try to contribute at least. I don't have a belt for you.
I'll share mine.
But there's makeup and hair products in the other room for everybody in the room. Everybody gets it. You get some lipstick and you get some. All right, anyway. We're leaning in. L'Oreal Paris, one of our brands who has always actually had a tagline, because you're worth it. So always stood for women and believed that women were worth it, and has always championed women of worth and celebrated women that were doing things to give back to their community. So when SeeHer actually came to us with an initiative around the Women's World Cup, we jumped in with both feet, and we sponsored it. We have vignettes that are running that celebrate the stories of those women within the World Cup. We're actually having a conversation with my friend here, Laura Molen, and her partners at NBC about the Olympics this year. So we are leaning in, and we're beginning to look at sports in a much bigger way, and particularly celebrating women that is very synergistic with the brands and what the brands believe in.
That's amazing.
From there?
Sure.
You don't mind if I help you moderate this way, right?
No, we share. I'm like, whoever's got the mic is in charge.
So at NBCU, I mean, we have so many sports, including the World Cup, which is airing now, and we partnered with L'Oreal to bring the SeeHer segments, which highlight the stories of the women in the World Cup, and as well as the Olympics, which I shared before, and the WWE. So we have many sports on NBCU. But one of the unique things about NBC Universal is not just the sports, and Katie can certainly talk about this. It's how we tell the stories behind the women in sports and really amplify their voices. And we do that from everything from the Today Show within the Olympics. Katie actually helped us with a SeeHer moment that many of the SeeHer sponsors brought a night that really highlighted the women in the Olympics and told their stories. And what I would say is that the company was so excited about the initiative that it kept going. You know, the next morning it was on during prime time, which we, don't do a lot of sponsorships in our prime time. But this really seems so important, especially with how powerful the women from the U.S. are on the Olympic teams. And the next morning, it continued into the Today Show, and then there were vignettes on all of the NBC Universal properties across across all platforms and really just highlighting the power of the women. If you ever see, and there's marketing, you mentioned only 4%, but our biggest campaign for the Olympics for Pyeongchang was Salute, which was saluting all the women in sports, and you'll see more of that in the upcoming Olympics. So get excited for 2020.
I also just want to add, we have a lounge Wednesday in Nice for Women's World Cup. And it's going to be really an important moment because it is about visibility. It is about having these conversations. It is about putting yourself front and center, and all doing that together. And we'll be doing the same in the Olympics, all coming together to, have a lounge there as well, having these unplugged conversations, not just about women on the field, but also in the business of sports, in front and, behind, which these conversations are really, really important for changing
That's really
the
a
equation.
great point. The chief marketing officer of NBC Sports, of all of our sports, from the NFL on, NASCAR, everything, is a woman, Jenny Storms, and she is an incredible marketer and finds unique ways to tell stories. And I think that is one great thing. Having a woman behind the storytelling really has changed the way that we market sports.
You look at the world in a different way. And so, Raja, Experiential, you are the brand that really is doing so much in the experiential area. How are you creating sports as experience and taking it to a new level?
Yeah, first is, I think, as far as sports are concerned, I think till about 4 or 5 years back, we were predominantly focused on men's sports because that's where the reach is most. And if you look at your typical metrics and the cost against that, they are the most favorable. But we took this call and started significantly shifting away from purely male-oriented activities into female. So this is not just in sports. Like, for example, we got heavily into movies, into fashion, into culinary, into travel, into shopping. So these are passion points. We got about 10 passion points that we really focus on and curate and create experiences that money cannot buy. That's our whole positioning. And we started doing that overall. So we got a big shift in our dollars towards those passions which are more appealing to, and there is a predominance of women against those. Within the category of sports, again, we look each vertical. We say, here is golf. So what can we do as far as golf is concerned? So we took Annika Sorenstam, for example, as our brand ambassador. And with her, we use her as an inspiration for the younger children. So we do something called Priceless Surprises. So we have, small girls come and suddenly find actually in the middle of a clinic, Annika Sorenstam walks in. And then she tells them, she inspires them, she tells them about their story and make it real for them that it is not just a pipe dream, but something that they can set their eyes on, work towards. And if Annika could, probably I too could as a girl. So that's one kind of a thing. The other one is, if you look at verticals, like we took tennis. So we have signed up with the number one player in the world for tennis. And she is now proving to be such an inspiration. She's a Japanese person. And again, a lot of interaction with consumers and with our customers. And actually, this is, I think you said it rightly, in some cases, the girls support less. And that's part of the stereotyping, unfortunately, that happens in the families, right? And so what we are trying to do is to have these experiences for the parents as well, so that they see the possibilities and instill that confidence and optimism in the girls. So this is one kind of a thing. So we are doing it in the world of tennis. And then soccer is by far the fastest growing sporting category for women. And that's something which is exciting for us because we are already big in men's soccer, but now we are expanding in a big way into women's soccer, and we are actually almost 6 big teams are being signed up by us. We already have Lyon, which is world's number 1. Then we have got Arsenal, which is one of the top 5. So we're really systematically going after these, as well as the captains who will serve as the role models. Now, one of the reasons why we are focusing a lot more on ambassadors, in addition to the events, is someone had mentioned that the women sports people are getting so less paid, both by the sponsors as well as actually the prize money is much smaller. I think the only place I have seen where women's sport is bigger is in the area of golf, and that is only in Japan. LPGA is bigger than regular PGA in Japan. So that's the only place that we have got, and we try to understand what is it different about it. I think there are a lot of cultural, conservatism even in Japan, but how did they break through? So we're taking some learnings from there and said that this is something which probably the marketers have to get together collectively. And we have got enough amount of financial muscle collectively to bring about a cultural change, and that's what we are trying to do. And the biggest idea for us is, on one hand, give experiences that money cannot buy to these youngsters and their parents to see the possibilities and get motivated. And the second part of it is basically to support these individual women sports persons who are extraordinary. They are working like hell, much more probably than their male counterparts. And I think they deserve exactly the same kind of a support, if not more, at this stage of the evolution of the change.
Well, it's brands like you that are going to help get there. And I just want to go back to economics, where for this Women's World Cup, they are paid total $30 million in money for winners, and for the men's in 2022, it's $440 million. That is 7.5% of what men make.
Which is awful.
I mean, we're not even at like 20%, 30%. Forget about 50-50. 7.5%. Like, that's not even like, and it's double from what they were last time. So we're supposed to think, wow, it's double. That's amazing. But it's still that much less. It's all relative, which is quite remarkable.
See, if I can just add one quick point. I guess if you look at the entire value chain, it is unfortunately self-fulfilling in a negative way. Right? If women are being watched less, then the broadcasts are only giving their secondary and tertiary channels, which nobody watches. Therefore, marketers like me don't invest in those. So this sort of keeps going on, and somewhere you have to break out of that vicious cycle, and that's what I think the effort is. And Mastercard is not just alone in this. We have joined hands with some of the top brands, including folks like InBev and Heineken and so on. And I think there is a movement that's really now taking shape and getting momentum, so which feels really good.
It starts with awareness, too. Go for it. I mean, think about in all the stadiums and, all the jumbotrons. And if you would see, even in men's sports, women in sports, they would be, we would be aware and be able to recall even the names. And I think that'd be a very interesting study. We should think about that.
Yeah, I think from an occasion perspective, there's a lot more we can be doing. And also in the way that we look at our sponsorships and how we organize those contracts. And so, with the NBA, right, along comes the WNBA. And how can we do much more with that sponsorship activity in championing those women? But also in the NBA in particular. So we've for Mother's Day last year with Budweiser, we highlighted the mothers behind the NBA champs for All-Star Weekend, and it started to close a gap in terms of respect for our Budweiser brand, which has been so, I think, in the space of women's empowerment, even just women overall as a consumer target, we've been so distant. So there's lots, I think, that of those little examples that we have. There's a lot more that we need to do. Another area is in some of these more emerging sports like esports, right? Half of, or even more than half, I think now, of the fan base is female. And so we just signed up for a global partnership to be the sponsor there. And so it's not just about slapping our logos, but it's about showing these women, these players on the jumbotrons and using those assets in a different way.
It's amazing. And Carla, I mean, not only, I just want to say, See Her, Hear Her, also doing a ton with music and women in music. I would be remiss if I didn't bring that up, and see her in sports. You're taking it all the way.
Yeah, we're very proud of that, and my colleague Jen Breithoft is leading the charge on See Her, Hear Her, and we are so excited at Citi about that. And look, we have been involved with women, with female athletes for a long time at Citi, particularly in the space of golf, Lorena Ochoa, et cetera, et cetera. So we've done a lot with women in athletes. I don't think enough. But what I'm excited mostly to talk about is the future and what we're doing in the future, because we just announced a partnership at the end of last year with the International Paralympic Committee. And these athletes, for any of you guys that have had any kind of access to the Paralympians, they are phenomenal. They are, in some cases, just as good as some of these other athletes. and or that are regular abled, and we're so excited because we deliberately, when we chose Team Citi, said the Team Citi had to at least be 50% women. So it was just from the beginning, as we're assembling. Again, we control it. If we can control it, we need to make sure that at least 50% of the, and so 22 out of the 42 athletes on Team Citi are women. And they all have amazing stories. I mean, these women are not just athletes. These women are doing incredible work in their own countries. It's a global partnership. And they're doing incredible work in their own countries. Some of them are ministers in their countries. Some of them have actually founded organizations to help children who are disabled to be athletes as well. And so we just think highlighting their stories, they each have stories to tell. And so we, again, have a responsibility to tell those stories and to highlight those stories. And, you know, we talk a lot internally about how we are taught when someone has a disability not to stare. Don't stare at that person. These athletes want you to stare at them because they want you to see the amazing feats they're doing. They don't want you to stare at them because they don't have a leg or they have half an arm or they have whatever. They want, or because they're blind and they're swimming. They want you to stare at them because they are just as elite in athleticism as some of the other more regularly abled athletes are. So we are so excited for Tokyo 2020 to be able to highlight the stories of these female athletes and tell not just the fact that they're amazing athletes, but what their stories are beyond. Because I think that texture adds a lot to relevance, actually. So
I also learned, and you know, a lot of this is ask. Don't be afraid to ask. I found out that people in wheelchairs do not like when you bend down to talk to them. They don't need you to do that. Like, there's certain things that we just need to start communicating and sharing. And, you know, disability is the greatest ability. And to start thinking about that. And so, you know, here's to 2020, Tokyo together, you know, really making a difference. And I think each and every one of you are champions. True, you don't have a belt like mine, but invisible ones that we all see. And you are all champions of change. And we appreciate everything that you are doing to amplify, activate all the solutions that we need to put into place to truly make sports more equal, not because it's a nice to have, but because it's great entertainment value, it's great athleticism, it's great for all of our children, inspirational, aspirational on all levels. And here is to #SeeHer Sports. Thank you so much for joining today.